Hello and welcome, everyone. We'll just give folks a second to get in the room with us before we dive into some housekeeping and then really get into the meat of today's webinar with some of our new releases that we're really excited to show you. It's been a busy first quarter of the year with some really exciting releases that we're excited to kick out. Hey, folks are coming in. Great. Well, we'll go ahead and get started with our slide deck. You won't miss anything super fun yet, but this is our GLM SLM Catching Up with Releases for February 2023. I am Sammy Holsworth, our product manager of Grants and Scholarships, and I'm joined by Nick Combs, our product owner of Grant Scholarships for today. You will notice, I think we all know it by now, that we are using Zoom as our technology platform to run this event. If you have questions during today's webinar, please open the box where you see the Q&A icon and type them in there. Nick is going to be moderating the Q&A, making sure we get your questions answered, as well as making sure that I tell you all the truth and I don't misspeak on any of our new features and functionality. Please note we will not be using the chat or raise your hand features today. So please, again, type your questions into Q&A. We're also providing live closed captioning on today's webinar. Please note that these are automatic captions and may not capture our presenters' words with 100% accuracy. If you prefer, you may hide them by clicking the closed caption icon and selecting hide subtitles. Interacting with that icon will give you personal settings for things like size of caption or live transcript. Last, we are recording today's webinar, and you'll have access to it via your email as well as the 9-dot icon within the system. A little bit about Foundant. A lot of you probably already know this, but founded in 2008, Foundant has grown both in the clients we serve and in team members we have to help our clients be successful. Through that growth, we have not only added technology solutions to solve problems for organizations across the philanthropic sector, we have also invested in our systems, processes, and most important, people, so that we can continue to improve the most important part of our work, helping our clients be successful. I think that is why Nick and I are always so excited to do these Catching Up with Releases webinars. This is new stuff that hopefully that you all have been asking for in Idea Lab. We've seen in chats and in support cases. We've talked to you all about it, conferences and different events. And so we really do hope that the stuff we're going to go through today, the features and functionality, really does help you do your jobs better and help you be successful. So with that, I'll kind of go to the next slide. We do just want to remind you to join and keep the conversation going. Today, we might talk about some things that are like, oh, how are other folks doing that? How are you managing your grant agreements? What does that look like? And we really encourage you to join Compass and the Foundant community to keep our conversation going and discussions going, whether that is features and software questions, industry best practices, connecting with your peers. Compass is such a great place, and you can get to that right through the software. So with that, what are we going to be talking about today? High level, you all don't want to see it on a slideshow. We're going to jump into the software, but here's kind of our path for today. We are going to start by demoing our new DocuSign integration. Next, we're going to look at some email enhancements. We've got some new templates and some new things. All of these coming from Idea Lab or conversations with you one-on-one at different events. Quick update on some document downloads as well. And then if we have time, we'll hit on tabling questions and some universal application enhancements. Tabling questions we've already hit in another Catching Up with Releases webinar. So if we don't get to it today, you can go back, look at that one. Likewise, the universal application enhancements in January, there was a full webinar that hit on all of these kind of more in detail. So if we have time, we'll fly through those relatively quickly, but there are other resources available on those last two bullets. So with that, we'll get out of PowerPoint. And we're going to jump into our DocuSign integration. This is one we're really excited about. It was in the top 5 ideas in our idea lab, and now it is available to you to come in and set up. So what does that look like? How do we do our initial configuration, and then how do we use it? So first and foremost, I want to let you know there's a really great help article if you go to our little question mark and you search DocuSign. Everything I'm about to take you through, we're going to move kind of quick today so we have time to get through everything, lives in this DocuSign integration help article. What's great about this is it also has some links to DocuSign support and DocuSign information. I'm not going to show you the DocuSign side of how to find some certain things today. We're going to really run through like we already have it set up, but no, this does have different pieces of how to get to DocuSign for their resources as well. So with that, how do we get set up with DocuSign and start using it in the system? Very first thing is you're going to come to settings. You're going to search DocuSign. You're going to click the little pencil icon here. And then, as I mentioned in that support article, it's going to tell you where to find these 4 items in DocuSign. All you're going to need to do is go grab those pieces of information and put them in your site, and you're going to be ready to go. These are not user by user specific, so Nick doesn't have to do it, and I have to do it, and whoever, others at our organization. Once we have it set up, we're going to be ready to use that, and it's going to be going to that DocuSign account.
Real quick, Sam.
Go ahead, Nick.
Just to get this question out, somebody right out the gate was asking if you have to have a DocuSign membership or is it included with Foundant?
Oh, great question. So this is a bring your own DocuSign license. So you do have to go purchase a DocuSign account. It does not matter the license level you have from DocuSign. I think we've even had some folks use the free or basic version of DocuSign, but you do have to go work with DocuSign. Our team here internally too can help you get set up with them if you need to know who do I reach out to. We have a direct kind of contact that we can send you to as well, saying, hey, I'm a Foundant customer, but you do have to have the DocuSign license, and then you'll be able to just build that into GLM. And that's really important because the way DocuSign does their licensing and envelopes, some of you are going to be sending thousands of DocuSigns. Others are going to be sending, I was talking to a client yesterday, they do 15 grants, they only need 15. Also allows you to have that option of some of you are already using DocuSign in other parts of your business. So great question. Anything else jump out there, Nick?
Just quick question on license level. As Sammy mentioned, it doesn't make any difference which license level you get from DocuSign. They'll all work with the integration. Another one is about Adobe Sign. So we don't currently have anything other than DocuSign. We're kind of using this as our first step. What we had heard a lot in the Idea Lab was DocuSign. So I think we have some other stuff about that coming up, or do you have anything to add?
And then I see one, are we still billed by envelopes? Yes, that is going to be in your DocuSign agreement. Again, that licensing, all of that, we're letting DocuSign handle. Once you have DocuSign, then we can be able to move forward there.
Nice shout out. TechSoup does DocuSign discounts. Thanks, Carissa. TechSoup.org/DocuSign.
Great. And I think we can pull that. If I don't get it by the end of the webinar, we can do in the follow-up the direct contact for DocuSign for folks as well. Okay, I'll keep moving forward, Nick. I'll let you kind of manage through those. And let's go ahead. And okay, so we grab those 4 fields from DocuSign because we're bringing our own DocuSign to the party. We get those tied into GLM, and you could start using the DocuSign integration from there. What I would recommend though, is we want to go take a look at your merge templates. So in merge templates, hopefully I'm not taking you all to a place you haven't seen. We can build our grant agreement, or that's really the most common use case we've seen. We could build our contract. We could build whatever it is we need a signature on. It might be an agreement of grant extension is another one we've heard. So we're going to come in here and we're going to build our merge template. In our merge template, I'm going to go ahead and just grab this document I already have and pull it up for us. If you are already using a merge template for your grant agreement or your contract or whatever that might be, I would encourage you, we want to go in and we want to update that, and we want to add one piece to it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this over. So here we're using our merge templates. That's going to allow us to put in things like organization name, project name, grant amount awarded, those different pieces. What we want to do is come in and edit that template that we already have in the site. And where you want the electronic signature, you're going to put in ***, signature, ***. And then this is going to feel a bit strange, but we're going to turn that to white text. We're going to hide it. But we know we have that *** signature built into where we want our grantee to sign, or internally our grantee to sign. So you would come in, click save, and then add that as a new template, right? If we're updating an existing template, we do have to re-add it. So I would come in and I would say, add that template. This is going to be our DocuSign template, ready to go. So we've updated our template. Yay. Right now, this is only working with merge templates. So we can't go build it into an actual form. You can't put a DocuSign field on your application or your follow-up form. We're really using our document creation and our documents area to be able to do that. So what does this look like? We have our document. I'm going to show you the individual workflow and the one-by-one workflow. So now that we have create documents set up, we have our document ready to go. Anytime we see the create document button in GLM, so this lives in a couple of places. One is going to be on the request summary page. So from here, the other is going to be on the individual form. So anywhere you see the create documents button, you're going to have the option to use the send to DocuSign. So it can be at the application draft stage, it can be at approval, it can be in a follow-up stage. Doesn't matter the status that the request is in, as long as you're seeing the create documents button, we're going to be able to move forward. Nick, do we have any questions kind of before I take us around setup merge templates before I start moving
I think
forward?
some of the questions that I'm looking through,
we're going to get to?
well, yeah, will be covered. So do grantees need DocuSign accounts to use the feature? So as part of the workflow, as Sammy will show, we'll send the DocuSign and then it sends to an email, and they don't have to create a DocuSign account. If they do, there's some benefits, like they can download the document from DocuSign, but they just need to sign in and sign the document, which doesn't, they don't have to register or have a DocuSign account or anything like that. So
Great.
Sammy will walk through that. And then the other question is just about whether or not you have to download, sign, and re-upload. And that's what DocuSign is helping with. So again, I think we'll get through those as you walk.
And I do see that can you have more than one field? We'll hit that one too. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead, hit create document. And we're going to grab that one that I say with DocuSign. And then now we're going to see the send with DocuSign button. At this point is going to route us into DocuSign. So at this point, we're saying, great, GLM, SLM, doesn't matter which one you're using. Thanks for the information. Now DocuSign is in control of the rest of this. So it is going to come in with the template we already created. Hopefully. Okay, there we go. So what is it bringing in? It's bringing in the template we already created with all of its merge fields. It is going to populate who the signer is, who needs to sign this, as the request owner from GLM. So that is an important piece. It's going to bring over the request owner and say, in this case, John is the signer. You can change this. That was just the best field for us to map. And if you need to add additional signatures, you can do that as well. So in this case, I'm going to leave this going to John. I'm going to say John needs to sign. This is all of your DocuSign functionality. Needs to sign, receive a copy, all those options in here. You can say John needs to sign in order. The other workflow we've really been hearing from folks is, great, my grantee needs to sign it, but so does our president. And so that's where we can come in and we can do this. We can add a recipient, and I'm going to add myself, and I'm going to say that I need to sign as well. If I try to hit send now, again, DocuSign's going to catch this, and it's going to say, I don't have anywhere for Sammy to sign. So that star signature field is how we can automate the request or the original signee. If we need to have more than one signature or additional fields that aren't the signature, we need to go into the next option in DocuSign. Now, I'm showing you really explicitly how to build all of this using our merge templates. Some of the workflows that we've talked about with clients is they're going to use our merge template as a cover letter, and then they're actually going to use DocuSign templates that they've already created because maybe they need 4 or 5 signatures, they need a bunch of fields. They're going to use those in here. There's some trade-offs depending on what merge fields you need, how many signatures you need. Our success team is happy to talk you through what option is best, but do note, you can use our template that we send over. That's going to give you the power of our GLM merge fields. Or you can use a template that is already set up in DocuSign. And or if you have an individual file that is very specific to someone, you can add that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click next. And this again is just taking me into that DocuSign flow. So we can see here's where I have that I needed the grantee to sign. But we can also say, you know what, I need them to initial up here, right? I need them to initial, this is a weird spot, but I need initials there. Or I saw someone say, can they also put in title? Yep, we can have them put in their title as well. So those are the fields I need from John. I also need Sammy to sign this. So what do I need from Sammy? I need Sammy's signature. I need Sammy's title. And let's go ahead and say we need my initials as well. So again, this is all DocuSign functionality, just the options you're going to have to configure and set up. And then once I've done that, I'm going to hit send. Key at this point is DocuSign is owning the email of the DocuSign, the reminders, the email that it's been complete. So for those of you who've been using DocuSign, all of that is still going to be managed over in that system. Right? We're not having GLM also sending DocuSign reminders. We're going to let DocuSign do what it's built and what it's really good at. But what you are going to be able to see in GLM or SLM is in the Documents tab, that document is already attached to the request. So here's that one that we just sent. We can see here's the name of it. Here's the type. We sent it today, and we can see that it was sent. I can go ahead and I can open this document. If I had added additional files once we got to DocuSign, I had added that template. This download is an exact picture of what is in DocuSign. So you don't have to do that upload, download back and forth between the two systems. Okay. So what does this look like? I'm gonna pause and pull up my email, see if we got the one that I need to sign.
And so real quick, while you're
Yeah.
opening this up, there's a few questions. So for those who aren't familiar with DocuSign, I know this might seem a little overwhelming if you haven't gone through this flow. DocuSign is a very powerful and robust tool that can handle a lot of different scenarios. Ultimately, it's a familiar tool for a lot of people who have to sign legal documentation or set up documents to sign, signatures to have, collect some information in kind of a formalized and familiar way. So there are other ways to go about meeting your needs. If you're a smaller foundation, DocuSign might not be the right fit. It might be fine to have a follow-up form with some, sign your name here and put the date in, whatever information. Definitely work with the support team to figure out what best suits your needs. What this provides is a lot of capability in kind of a formal way. And so if you feel overwhelmed by this, there's a lot here. So don't feel bad. Sammy's going through, like I said, or like she said at the beginning, there's a lot to it. So she's kind of going through it faster than, a training. This is really worth a training session, to sit down if you're trying to learn DocuSign. And so really what this is for is just kind of showing the capabilities that we have through our integration. So if you have additional questions, definitely reach out and don't feel bad if you feel overwhelmed, because there's a lot here. So
yeah, and I would say too, Nick, great point. Some of the clients I've talked to, if you're successfully using a follow-up to manage this information and your organization is like, it's working great, my legal team's fine with it, keep doing that, right? Like, this does not have to replace if you've been using a follow-up form. Keep doing that. If it is meeting your needs, really where we've seen DocuSign be a need for folks is that, like, I kind of need multiple folks to sign it. We really do need something that looks like a signature, different pieces there. And so that, great point, Nick. This is meant to show the capabilities. For some of you, if you've already found really great ways to do some of this, you can keep doing it that way. We want you to keep doing it that way as well. So I've gone ahead, as Nick said, this is going to be your grantee experience or your president's experience or whomever. Just like when I, closed on my house, I got a bunch of these. We're going to go ahead, click review document. And this is where those end users, the folks signing, don't have to have a DocuSign account. Nothing different on their end. They're just getting an email that's going to say, I need to review this document. And then it's going to have them put in the pieces of information we need from them. And then I'm going to hit finish. Yay. I have a login. I'm going to say no thanks. And I've done my piece of the puzzle. Again, if you've been using DocuSign, you use DocuSign today, there's going to be notices. CME completed doing this, all of that coming from DocuSign. But in GLM, we're going to be able to keep that document up to date automatically in the system. So we can see that it was sent, but we're going to be able to start to see one person signed it. I sent that to second signature to a fake email address. So we're not going to be able to get this one done. But once a document has been completely signed by all parties, this status is going to update to complete automatically. So again, for those of you who have in the past been pulling information out of GLM, downloading, putting it in DocuSign, uploading it back into GLM, this was, really built for you. For those of you who have been using follow-ups, it's great. We can have that conversation. Does it make sense to move? But for those of you who have been doing that upload, download, back and forth, this has really been built with that in mind to keep all of that information up to date. Okay, Nick, questions before I jump into batch?
Yeah, a couple. So it sounds like the document was saved, was pre-signature. Will you be able to save the signed copy? The answer to that is yes, after the signature has happened and that status changes to complete, as Sammy was mentioning, the DocuSign document that is able to download, it's got the little download icon there. to the right of it, it will update to the signed copy.
Mhm.
So you'll be able to download that signed copy as well as
Yep.
see the template that was used. Next one is signing order. So that's managed through DocuSign. In the example that Sammy sent, you can set up the signing order through DocuSign. So person A needs to sign, and then person B needs to sign. All that's managed through how you configure the DocuSign template when you're sending it. Let's see. Could this be used to collect financial banking information for wire transfers or ACH? Is this more secure than a follow-up form to collect that? Do we have any advice on that? Articles that we can reference them to?
We do, and Lacey, I would point you to the DocuSign integration support article we have here. If you want to go the route of using DocuSign to capture that information, I'm going to scroll to the very bottom. We have a whole section on that where it says collecting sensitive information. One of the options that you do have through DocuSign is this ability to do a hide text with asterisks. So if you are asking for ACH or banking information, that could be locked down by admins, which is a feature we don't have in GLM. And so I would encourage you to take a look at this, make sure you're comfortable with it. But we did kind of pull that into the support document, knowing that's a feature and functionality of DocuSign that you could leverage.
And then can we set up the primary contact to receive the DocuSign rather than the applicant?
So today that would be manual. You would have to go in and change it. I think that's something, Nick, this was our first cut, right? Request owner was the most direct one. We're kind of thinking through what is next. Is it primary contact? Is it, some of this dual signer stuff? So not today, but something we are considering is, could we set it up to maybe give you the option to say primary contact? Any thoughts you have there on that one, Nick?
No, yeah, you hit it right on. So initial cut is, it's a little bit of a manual process right now. So as Sammy was showing in the workflow, if you're talking about like an individual situation, when you go and you say, send this to DocuSign, you have the ability to manage who actually needs to do the signing. Mm-hmm. It will initially select the request owner. But you can change that to somebody else. So. And then is there DocuSign integration in C-Suite?
Currently there is not. So GLM SLM went first, which I think we talked about as we've grown. We have new products, new solutions. It's been really fun that sometimes one product gets to lead the way. So in this case, GLM SLM is leading the way on the DocuSign integration, learning these different questions and different things. So we're going to let it play for a little bit in GLM SLM, and then C-Suite does have it on its roadmap. I don't have a set time frame, but it is something they are evaluating, and especially taking GLM SLM learnings from it. And the big thing that I would say is, if you have a need in C-Suite, I know there's an Idea Lab item, let them know where you need it. Is it fund agreements? Is it something like grant contracts and you just prefer to do those out of C-Suite? Helping them identify where we need to do it first is also really helpful. It was easier for us to go on the GLM SLM path out of the gate because we knew grant agreements were a great starting point. We didn't have all the other modules and pieces of information that C-Suite has.
So there's a couple questions that I don't really know the answer to about revisions. I haven't walked through any of those scenarios. I don't know if you have any. Is that something that they could find in the support articles, or do you know?
That is going to be in DocuSign support. I saw a couple about changing signer.
Yeah.
One of the best things is actually, if I were to come in here, I already signed this, your applicants can change the signer. But if you needed to change it for them or on their behalf, that is all something you can do in the admin console of DocuSign, which I don't have all of my logins set up today, but that's all options. Form revisions, I saw that you could add to the existing document that you already have, depending on the explicit workflow, how big the revisions are. You might want to void the original one and send a new one. It would just kind of be up to you what makes best practice.
And then is there a sandbox option to test this?
So Wendy, if you have access to DocuSign calls it something different. So like their version of Sandbox, yes, you can. A lot of folks have just been testing it in live and they're, changing the sender to be themselves, and then they're voiding it. If you have access to kind of your test or your playground DocuSign, you can do that, but you do have to be able to talk sandbox to sandbox, live to test the integration. So lots of folks have just been testing it in the live environment and haven't had any problems.
And then the last one is, does the document expire? That is, or how long do we have to download the signed document?
So if this is within GLM, it will be there. It's not going to expire. We've actually brought the document into the system. It's housed on the documents tab. It's not just a link, it is a full file that we brought over. So within GLM, it will not expire.
Yep. And then otherwise, that would be a setting in DocuSign if there was an expiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how long the link's good for them to go sign it.
Yeah.
And that piece. Okay, with that, I want to launch a couple polls and then I want to show you a little bit more on DocuSign. And this is just to help us learn, right? This was a new big feature. We based it off of Idea Lab, and we know we need to keep iterating. So I'm going to launch our first question. This one's really simple. It's just about communication. And that is, did you know this was available before you saw it today? Or is this the first you've heard of it? Okay, looks like people are about done. Oh, we got 100% answer. That's what's nice about a yes or a no question. Go ahead and end poll. And share results. So we're about 60-40. So for those of you that had already heard about it, awesome. For those of you who haven't, not a problem. I live and work in technology and I should be better about really reading release notes as well. So really just kind of curious how folks are consuming information around the new features and functionality we're rolling out. Okay, our next one is about, can you use this? Have you used it? So one of the first questions, does this work with Adobe Sign? I want to stick with my follow-ups. That's a perfectly fine response. And so we're just curious, what is your plan? I would say if you really like your follow-up workflow, your response here is, I can't use it. It doesn't fit our workflow. And those of you that answer in that I can't use it, it doesn't fit our workflow, might be getting a phone call from me at some point or an email to learn more. Okay. We're going to go ahead. We'll end this one kind of all over the board. Nick, looks like we might be making some phone calls on those doesn't fit our workflow folks. I think that'd be interesting to know, but for those of you planning on using it, awesome. And those that still don't know enough, support success, they're there. The support art documentation is fantastic. So thank you for letting us know that. Okay, Nick, any kind of follow-up questions you have? I know we don't have chat on today or any.
Yeah, no, somebody was just saying, as a sender of DocuSign, when they receive a notification when a signer signs it, all of those notifications will still work. That all management is still going through DocuSign. So
Yep.
We create the template in GLM SLM, and then once you send it, it goes through DocuSign, and all of the notifications management and all of that happens in DocuSign. And then once they're finished with it and you have that signed document, we get that from DocuSign. So we're really just kind of a broker in that, we start the conversation and we get the finished version, but everything else is handled in DocuSign as it normally is. nothing else other than that coming
Great.
through the comments. Questions?
Okay, so the last thing I do want to point out is you can do this in batch from request and decisions. What you will see here, though, is this just sends. So if you have any workflows that it needs to go to someone besides the request owner, if you need multiple signatures, all of those different pieces, I would not recommend using batch today, but you can come in. I need everyone approved. Let's see if I can get anyone in here. Nope, no data. I knew I was going to do that, Nick. Come on. Never mind. But from search requests and decisions, you will see a batch option at the bottom. Actually, let's just go approved with no dates. Or not. My site's not happy. That would say create documents, send a DocuSign. That one is just a auto send, no stop in DocuSign to do any configuration there. Okay. That gets us through the DocuSign fun, I think. And no open questions. Is there a way to simply track? Oh, Gina, that's a okay. Last question on DocuSign. Is there a way to simply track which documents are still out versus those which have been completely signed and finalized? That is a view you would have access to in DocuSign. That is one on the iteration side. We've been trying to think through, do we need to introduce, I don't know if we would do it like this, but something like email history that is like a DocuSign history. Would you want it in both places, right? That is something you're going to have access to in DocuSign, but would you want a quick list that shows you here are all the DocuSigns and their current status? Has been a conversation we've been having with some folks internally, and I think it's kind of one of those we need a couple more people using it to help us understand, is the DocuSign side good enough, or do we need to get that into GLM SLM? Anything you would add there, Nick?
No, sorry, I was actually looking into that while you were getting an issue.
We're getting that error. Figured you might be looking into that because it's a live demo.
That's exactly why.
Awesome.
You have a weird date somewhere is ultimately what it comes down to. Probably.
Okay. Well, let's switch gears and let's talk email template. Kind of same gear, maybe same area-ish communication. So we have added a couple new email templates and some enhancements to emails. So I'm going to jump in. I'm going to go to email templates. And we are going to start with the add new template flow. So in add new template, I'm going to call this contact, edit, apply to, you can go to me. Someone changed their account. Put in whatever we want if we need to. And we can come down here to our email notification events. And we can select this new user profile changed in the system. So user profile changed. I'm going to hit create template. This is an email that you're going to set up. New email. Okay. You're going to set up and you're going to say create template. And then this is one of those emails that goes to your internal team. So we said, great, I got a, contact change email. Who needs to know? Who needs to be notified if someone edits their contact information? I can go to users. I'm going to go to admins. And I'm going to say, I need to know. I need to know if people edit their contact information. So I'm going to go to manage notifications. And I'm going to go to this user profile edited. And I'm going to add that event type in here. Why would I use that email? I'm going to use that email to let me know specifically, we've heard what your applicants do. Nick was at the organization. Nick left and said, hey, Sammy, here's a post-it. Here's my login. Here's my password to Funder X. I might log in day one as that applicant, go in, edit the profile, and change all of Nick's information to my information. That new contact edit email is going to notify you as admins if that happens. So we really want you to go in and set this up. We think this is a great new feature and functionality so that you know when your contacts in the site are changing their information. In a lot of scenarios, it is going to be something like their address changed, but you might want to know that. Their email address changed. You might also want to know that. But more importantly, it is going to help you know in those scenarios where someone potentially went in and did a full override of another contact. Now, it doesn't stop that from happening. It at least gives you the visibility into Nick now became Sammy. I'm going to revert that. I'm going to undo it. And then I'm going to set Sammy up with her own account. Okay. Questions there, Nick?
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. This one works like the organization change, right? Where it shows you what actually changed.
It does. Yep. The email will show you what actually changed. The other thing that you will have the ability to do if you don't want to just have the email up next to you saying Sammy changed to Nick is remember you have your user change log. So you'll be able to come in, find that person under their new name or whatever it might be. And it will also be in the system. So we can come in GLM and we could say, I want to see the user change log for this specific user as well. So the email is going to give you that insight as well as you can see it in the system as the user change log. So we're going to go in there, just point this out. Here's that contact change log would also have that information. Okay. So just as a reminder, to be able to use this, you do have to go to email templates. You've got to set up or add a new template, right? We're going to say add template, and we're going to create a new email template that is this user profile changed. So let's just do that again. Can't type. So we're going to build the template. That is step one. User profile changed, create template. And then there is a second piece to this one. You have to go say who is getting this email. So we set the template up, then we go to users, and you're likely going to pick an admin, a grants manager, whomever. You're going to go to their account. You're going to say manage users. And then you're going to say they're going to start getting this email. So kind of two pieces. You got to create the template, and then you got to say who's getting the email when this happens. Okay. What else, Nick?
Is there an email for organization updates and changes too? Yes, there is. That one has been around for a little while. So it's similar workflow, organization edited, like Tammy's showing right now. So you can set an administrator up to receive the user profile edited or the organization edited email templates that you have configured. So, yeah.
The difference that I would call out, and this isn't about the email templates, it's just about the ability to edit, is users are going to have the ability to edit all of the pieces of information about their account. If I need to change my email address, if I need to change my mailing address, I can do that. For organizations, you actually get to pick and choose in settings what fields you allow them to edit. So you can go in an organization and lock down and say, you can't change your name, you can't change your tax ID, you can only change your address. So just emails there for both of them, just the difference in being for a contact, they can edit everything. For organizations, you can actually put some other safeguards in place as well around what they can't edit.
Yeah, and Marla, so she's mentioned this has happened to them recently, and it's a great feature to have. So this is based on, yeah, I mean, real world feedback. We have definitely heard of these scenarios. That scenario that Sammy was talking about at the beginning, where somebody logs in and changes Nick to Sammy, completely just changes the entire user profile. That's fairly common and creates a real big headache later when an administrator is trying to track down and be like, I swear that this was a different person that I spoke to last year. I don't know, where is that other person? Because something like this happened. And there isn't a real clean way. There wasn't a real clean way of tracking that down. You'd have to go look at that user changed information very specifically. And this will just kind of be that push notification. It's like, hey, somebody just changed their stuff, just so you know. How do you revert it if somebody swaps out their info? That'll be a manual process and probably a conversation.
Yeah,
hey,
unfortunately, not a lot of fun at this point. Yeah, I would do this. If you want to know how I would do it, I would right click on the contact change log, or as we mentioned, the email by default, you don't have to do anything special, is going to show you the previous and the new field in the email. The workflow today would be, you have the user change log up, you have that email up, and you go say, okay, Chris, you changed Nick. This actually needs to be Nick. We change it all back because we have that history either in the email or the user change log. We hit save, and then we go build that new person as a new profile. So not completely automated, at least awareness, and we can unravel it manually as needed today.
Does it generate an email if a user changes information on behalf of the user/organization?
I believe, Nick, today we only have it triggering if the user does it, correct? We're not doing it if an admin is in changing it. I think that's where we landed. We went back and forth.
Question. I know. That's a good question. Might have to get back to you on that one and or test it out. I can't remember where we landed because it was like
80% sure we landed.
I think you're right. If the user changes their own profile, that's when it's causing the update, because otherwise you would be spamming yourself. You were trying to update several profiles.
Okay. Oh, and Sheila says, but then you mess up the password on the new person.
Yeah.
Yes, you
are. I was just typing that. So the best practice there is if you do change somebody's user profile, change it back to whatever it was, add a new profile for them to use to log in. Best practice is always to have them just use the reset password functionality. So, they'll have an email address. You set it up with their email address, put in whatever you want for a password, and then just have them use reset password, and then they can follow that as well.
And then I'm seeing questions around how do I see what my organizations can edit? So in settings, if I go to organization, and Nick, this might be one they don't have access to. Super secret. Okay, you don't have access to it. This is why Nick is here. to decide what your organizations can and can't edit, you do have to reach out to support and they'll help you update those fields. So not something we've given you access to in settings, but if you want to know what they can and can't edit on the organization, support can help talk you through that and then help you change those fields out. Again, for the user, they're always going to have access to every field. Okay. I'm going to go to our next new email template, Nick, and some of our changes there.
Yep. So
this one is for our folks who use third party. We kind of kept laughing. There was kind of a hidden email that went out that then you would get questions about and you didn't know how it happened or where it went. So we've made that visible. And it is this, so it's going to be in system. This one you don't have to turn on. It's already sending, but you can edit it. So if you're using third party, if you have added a third party reminder email, there's also an email tied to that goes to the applicant. So we send an email to our third party, maybe it's for a letter of recommendation or supporting documentation. And we've created that template. We've got it set up for our third party reminder email. And we've said, okay, 14 days. If they haven't done their third party, we're going to send a reminder. With that email that goes to the third party, there's also one that goes to the applicant that says, by default, dear recipient, the request that you recently sent to, puts in their third-party email address, has not been responded to. A reminder email has been sent to them. So this is a way for your applicants to know, hey, so-and-so hasn't done their third party. We've reminded them. You might also want to follow up with them. This used to just happen in the background. We've now given you visibility into it. So it will live in your email templates, again, in system. And if you want to change that language, you can come in, open it up, and update that email template to language that is more friendly or more helpful to your applicants. So not one that you have to create on your own or anything like that. This one's already set up. You can just come in and edit it. Okay. Lastly, in email, we're almost through. When we're building email templates now, if you're building an auto email template, if you're building a template that you send regularly, if you have templates in here, you are now going to have the option to add attachments that go with that template. So in the past, if I needed to add a file or an attachment to this template, I had to do it one by one. I couldn't do it on automated emails. Now you can come in, and if you're building out a template, you can go in, all of your attachments. We're going to have an email attachments here. So to have access to these, we have to have uploaded them as an email attachment to the system. And then I'm going to have the option to say, you know what, this document is always attached to this email. So this might be, maybe it's FAQs around your FAQs around their program. Maybe it doesn't make sense to put all, or FAQs around the foundation. Maybe it doesn't make sense to put all of that in the body of an email. Maybe you always send, you know, a printout of your logo so that they can put it in different documentation, right? We want to send them a high quality JPEG so that they have our logo to put on different news, PR releases, put it on their social media. You can come in, add those attachments. Maybe it's just, in this case, a PNG. Put it on the template. So again, if it's one that we're going to send one by one, if it's one that we're going to automate, no matter what the template, we can have that so it's set to go. So we're going to go new template. So that's step one of this, is you don't have to add attachments to our email templates one by one. And then the other piece of this is when we send that email, whether we're using the attachment directly on the template or we've added a one-off attachment. That's also a very common workflow we know people have, like, hey, I needed to put an attachment on this email template. We can see I'm going to send this one. I'm going to hit send. It's going to have that attachment, whether it's the one attached or if I needed to throw another one on here as well. We hit send. Those attachments are also going to be part of the email history. So if I go to the contact, organization, or request email history, the history now includes the attachments as well. When we go in and we look at that, that email, so we can see here were the attachments and we could download those. So that was the other big thing. You can now add attachments to your templates. And then anytime we add an attachment to an email, that will be part of the email history that we can go back in and see. Okay. What's coming up, Nick?
Typing furiously. No. It's all good. So I've just had a few one-off questions about third parties. What are they? How are they used? That type of stuff. And then some questions about third-party notifications and how those are configured. So kind of one-off questions tangentially related to what you're talking about here, but just helping them out. And as always, if my questions don't quite answer your question, feel free to reach out to support. They do a much better job than I could at answering those questions. So.
And we put you on the spot. You're on camera and we can see you typing feverishly.
Yeah, exactly. So you see me now. Surprise. And then somebody has a great idea. Will we ever have folders for templates? It's hard scrolling through the list when you have so many different opportunities. That's an interesting idea. I actually personally haven't heard of that. I don't browse the Idea Lab as much as you do, Sammy. I'm sure. Have you heard of that one?
I know we've seen folders in other places. So potentially an email as well.
So I was just typing out, definitely sounds like a great candidate for an Idea Lab discussion. I bet that could get some traction. There's already, people are chiming in. Agree. Love this idea. So there we go. Sounds like that would be a hit to be able to organize the email template somehow. So thank you all. The engagement is great. That's exactly what we look for in these kind of webinars. So.
And confirming this is on the page. I'm currently on the email templates page, right? I'm seeing some folks say process manager, but
email templates folders would be great.
And reports, yep, definitely heard reporting. Reporting is a harder nut to crack.
Yeah,
but
everything about reporting is just a little bit harder.
Email template folders.
Folders everywhere. Just folders. Careful, April Fool's is coming around. You're gonna log in and there's just gonna be folders everywhere, just all folders.
And then I'm seeing some conversation around emails going to junk. Thoughts? So in email history, it won't show you if it went to junk. But it will show you these other statuses of like drop, deferred, if it errored and didn't process. So this is a decent way. One thing we did, and we did this one, heck, Nick, we did this one a long time ago, and I'd be curious. Okay, we're at the hour. I'm going down a tangent. I want to finish this thought. If any of you have to go, we've got through our information for the day. As I said, if you haven't seen tables yet, we went through that in our last catching up with releases. If you're a universal application user, there's a webinar in January that went through all the new enhancements and functionality that we added there. So with that, Nick, do you think we're okay to tangent for a second?
I mean, I'm okay.
Okay. So one of the things we did, and we did this a while ago, is in the registration process, and I apologize, y'all are going to have to watch me feverishly go through the registration process.
One quick tip though, if you're worried about emails getting sent to a spam folder, is definitely provide documentation to say add administrator at grantinterface.com to
That's
the
what I was,
whitelist.
yep. Great point, Nick. And that's what I was just trying to show is we did make that part of the registration process a while ago.
Mhm.
So they are seeing a point in the process that says whitelist this and confirm that you are getting emails. Next. Yes. Almost to the page. So this is the page. And we have, so you can pull this tutorial right from us. We already have one created for you. You can send this out, share it with folks. But your users are seeing this email confirmation when the first time they create an account. And I'd be curious, and we don't have to dig into this fully today, but if we wanted maybe some metrics on how people are responding to this, that it's like, yeah, I just continued without checking. I confirmed I received the email. I have not received the email. Maybe this starts to give us some better visibility into what's going on. I don't know. But just wanted to point this out. One, as Nick said, we've built tutorial, feel free to grab this. And then the other one is maybe there's some more we could do with this page to help give you all some insight into how they're interacting with the whitelist stuff.
All right, real quick, unrelated, somebody had noticed during the webinar that the Candid logo was showing instead of the GuideStar logo. They said their GuideStar logo is still showing. So I was just letting them know, yes, absolutely. Keep an eye out. More to come on that. It's in flight right now. We're still working through some of the branding to make sure that, you know, we're in alignment with what Candid is expecting. And then definitely keep your eye and ear out for some changes coming regarding updates to that. So yes, it's on its way. Not ready yet. This is catching up with releases, past tense.
But Nick and I always throw in a couple little Easter eggs to see who's paying attention.
So good eye.
Good eye.
Email us this Q&A. It honestly blew up at the end, so I'm behind. So I got to catch up on some. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out for sure.
Great. Yeah. I'm just scrolling next.
Yeah, I was seeing if there was anything specific.
I would just encourage the person who said, like, can we get this Q&A? If there was something specific you want to talk more about with your colleagues, get that into Compass. We can continue like a full thread conversation there as well. So with that, Nick and I have gone a little over time.
I think
thank you. You got it. We thank you all for digging in with us, seeing some of our new features and functionality. Like we said, this is meant to be awareness, what's out there, hopefully get you excited to learn some more, and then we can do continued follow-up. And I hope, you know, as some of you who are like, I don't know enough about DocuSign, or even those of you who were like, I can't use it, it doesn't fit my workflow, feel free to reach out to me directly and or Nick. We want to know how we can continue to make, you know, these new features and functionality that we build valuable to you all. So Nick, any parting thoughts?
No, just thank you. It was strange being on camera for the first time, but I appreciate all the interaction. I don't know if it helped to drive some more of the interaction, but I do appreciate everybody here on the call, helping us out, understand this. It was fun. It was a good webinar. So thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Hopefully it was informative.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks.